Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from WeatherWatch TV on YouTube with your April Climate Watch Outlook as we take a look at the trends of high pressure, low pressure, rainmakers and temperatures going through the next few weeks. This is recorded on Wednesday, April the 1st. Let's kick off with the April 1st temperature map. This is the misery index. It's designed for farmers, in particular for livestock and stress with animals, but it's really good for human beings as well to look at because you can see immediately in the blue the areas below zero and the areas in red 30 degrees and above. No yellow on the map. The 40 degree and above, that's disappeared now. So most of Australia is getting into a more temperate zone, and in New Zealand certainly into a temperate zone, not too hot, not too cold. And a number of the colder changes, some of which in recent days have come up into Australia, haven't really affected New Zealand quite as much. I know that you've had some snow and frosts already in the southeast corner of Australia following a cold change at the end of March. So for now, it's fairly orderly. And the main headline out of today is the fact that La Niña is over. So we're not expecting any extra energy up here in the tropics, but it's worth noting we've only just finished the peak of the tropical cyclone season. That's in the month of March. So we expect more lows up here over the next few weeks as sea surface temperatures still remain high. So the climate drivers at the moment, we start with La Niña. As I mentioned, it has ended in the Pacific Ocean. We're now in neutral, which means kind of anything can happen with our weather. It's expected to remain neutral right through to the end of autumn, and El Niño is forecast by all global models, all of them, by the end of winter, and some in fact even pick it as early as May. So what does that mean for New Zealand and Australia? It means more westerlies usually. So autumn might just be a little more enhanced as we go through perhaps the later part of the season. Over in the Indian Ocean, it's also neutral at the moment, and so is the Southern Ocean, which means it's fairly orderly around our part of the world with the tropical lows in the tropics, high pressure further in the middle, and then down over the Southern Ocean, you've got your next series of lows. From a marine point of view, now following severe tropical cyclone Narelle, waters are now cooler to the north and the west of Australia with that remarkable journey, several thousand kilometre journey. Now below normal it means it's 2 degrees below average when we say it's cooler. Warmer areas means 2 degrees and above, and that is fairly much the rest of Australia, especially into the southeast corner. Around New Zealand, sea surface temperatures are close to normal, but we have moderate marine heat waves in the upper North Island and also around Fiordland. So here is the sea surface temperature anomaly map. This is for today, the 1st of April anyway. And it shows here areas that are warmer than average by 2 degrees or so. That's in the reds and yellows, and the brighter the blue is, the colder that it is below normal. So around New Zealand, southwest corner of the South Island. Now remember, this is just a snapshot for today. When I show you the next map, that's sort of spread out over a week. So that's why it looks a little redder than it is maybe everywhere around the South Island, but actually it's the southwest corner that is warmer than usual and the very top of the North Island. Around Australia, warmer than average, especially here in the southeast, but look where Narelle went, temperatures are down in those northern and western areas. This is the one I was just talking about. So this measures the marine heat wave from the 1st of April right through to the 8th. So that's why it's not all warmer than average around the South Island, because we expect, or at least the Met Service team at Met Ocean and the Moana project expect some cooler temperatures coming through, lower temperatures. So most of the country here pretty much normal, but we are just seeing slightly above average conditions around the north and in Fiordland. So let's get into the forecast. Here we are for the first week of April, kicking off with today's air pressure map. So the red areas shows high pressure, the blue boxes show low pressure. Fairly orderly, to be honest with you. You've got that high pressure belt moving through Australia and around the New Zealand area. Tropical low pressure belt up into the tropics and the Southern Ocean, storms down where they should be. Between the low pressure systems to the south and the high pressure systems up here further northwards, that's where you've got the windy westerlies snaking along here where all the isobars are squeezed together. So Tasmania, for example, having the autumn westerlies today. New Zealand's got them coming as well over the next couple of weeks. Let's fast forward to the second week of April. We've been mentioning this tropical cyclone risk up around the Solomon Sea, Coral Sea, Fiji as well. Based on this map, that's tropical cyclone potential here in that second week of April coming in towards Queensland. But there's low pressure all the way along the tropical region. The high pressure belt, as you might have noticed, sort of breaks up a wee bit as we go into the middle part of the month. That's because some of these storms south of us are finding some of the gaps here in the high pressure. So the big highs, the big sort of center of the mountain, one big line, as they were a while ago. They're sort of broken up, some a little further north, a little further south, and that allows lows to drop southwards, as you see in northern Australia and east of New Zealand, and then also these southerly changes that come up with low pressure as well. So in other words, this looks like April weather. It looks like autumn. There's nothing too surprising in there. And we go through to the middle of the month, and again, still fairly orderly. Tropical lows all along the tropical side here. So any one of these zones can form into a tropical cyclone, go southwards and break the forecast that I'm talking about here. See a low pressure system here just northeast of New Zealand, south of Tonga, and low pressure around Fiji, Vanuatu as well. But the high pressure belt is still pretty much in control. So there may not be any sort of big dramatic changes to our weather pattern for the first half of the month. We might see some changes later into the month. Some of these storms south of Australia, south of New Zealand may start to surge up more, and they'll do that where there are gaps here between high pressure centres, one out over the Indian Ocean, the other one here over Bass Strait, Tasmania. And so some of these systems can come further northwards during those moments. So there's a few things to monitor with the tropical lows, but I don't think anything is jumping out as too extreme just yet. Here are the soil moisture maps from the start of the month of March to the end of the month of March. So certainly very heavy rain from that event in northern parts of New Zealand compared to where we were. So there's been rain relief, if you want to call it that, for the top of the North Island. But areas from Taranaki over towards Hawke's Bay and down to Manawatu, those three areas there are drier than they were. So we're noticing that, dry around Waited Upper as well. And the South Island, pretty similar, maybe a little bit more wet weather coming in for Southland, and some parts of Bulla showing some signs of drying out as well. Here's the New Zealand Drought Index. I'm a little perplexed by that, but despite all the heavy rain, NIWA is still saying that that area is drier than usual. If you live up there in the far north, north of Kaitaia, let me know how you think things are. Taranaki, Manawatu, Bulla, and down here around parts of Otago, all of those areas perhaps just a little bit dry, but nothing too serious. Here's Australia's soil moisture anomaly map, or the root zone soil moisture. Look at all the wet weather that's been coming through some of these areas. So there has been some good rain relief into the ground through a number of parts of Australia, but the concerning area, possibly here in New South Wales, I've had quite a few of you write to me over the last couple of weeks asking, please, where is the rain? So southern parts of Queensland and certainly a big chunk of New South Wales, drier than they should be, some parts of Tassie as well. Western Australia, you've had a fair bit of rain coming through lately. Things are looking pretty good there for the most part. So before I go, let's take a look at the 16-day rainfall for each country. This is the Australian one, the time is here. So you can see the tropical cyclone up here. That could still change. And in the south, you're seeing these cold fronts zipping through. So the tropical lows up here, you can see them kind of building as we go through, heading over to Western Australia, maybe a little bit like what Narelle did. But this is still not totally locked in. It all depends on that tropical storm and where it may or may not go. That could still change and alter the rainfall at the top. But you get the general idea. Showers in the south, dry through central areas, and tropical rain still around northern parts of Australia. If you look at New Zealand's rainfall for the next 16 days, not too much to begin with going into Easter, then up comes that wet weather, low pressure forms. We could be seeing some heavy rain next week going into after the Easter weekend. Fairly dry in eastern areas, not high rainfall, and right through here to the end of the 16th of April, it's only the top of the North Island and the west coast that have seen proper rain. Eastern areas not seeing huge amounts, maybe a little bit, but those dry areas just mentioned before, not necessarily getting the rain relief that they might want or need. And before I go, let's just give you the 16-day animation. I'll put this on again with me off the screen so you can see it a little better. Let's animate it now. So we'll start with the tropical lows up here. These two areas are worth monitoring, and once we get to next week, things could change from what you're viewing here. Just keep that in mind as one system drops southwards, the other one goes westwards. Stormier weather around, or unsettled weather around Tassie, Bass Strait, parts of Victoria, but high pressure returns again. In New Zealand, high pressure, some cold fronts coming through, and westerly winds, perhaps a new feature developing a bit more often as we go through the next month, although the final map here for the 17th shows southeasterly winds, cooler change coming through. Some of these things might still change. There's a lot of low pressure up into the tropical zones to monitor, a lot of low pressure south of us as well, and that high pressure belt, as you can see here, high pressure over New Zealand, the next one way out over the Indian Ocean. That allows some of these lows south and north to drop down over us. So there's still a little bit of uncertainty, as you'd expect in autumn and going in through April. Thank you for joining me for this month's Climate Watch. I'll be back again 1 month from now as we look at May, and we'll see you with our usual weather videos tomorrow, Thursday.